We move towards the next panel, discussing upon dermatology segment. And we have with us Mr. Hariram Krishnan and Sankar Das, sir. Welcome, Sankar, sir. Welcome. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Hariram, sir.
Good afternoon.
And I'll quickly introduce the panel, which doesn't need introduction, but it is a responsibility. So Hariram Krishnan, sir, mentor and executive coach, former MD Galderma, India. He is currently practicing mentor and executive coach. Post his superannuation in March 2012, he has been a mentor to CEOs and directors of few startups, manufacturing companies also. He is a certified executive coach from International Coach Federation. And from 2001 to March 2012, Hariram Krishnan sir was managing director of Galderma India, a subsidiary of global MNC and a globally leading company in dermatology. He is based in Mumbai and has over 40 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry with an illustrious career moving from MR to MD. That's a wonderful thing. Welcome,
and
sir.
He was a mentor to my team too in my
so thank you for adding that, Sankar sir, and helping out. Sankar Das sir, former CEO of Curatio, the business that divested with benchmark valuation in IPM during 2022, most recent and most talked about. More than 35 years of experience, he has strategized and crafted long and short-term business plans and strategies to build brands in emerging markets and India. He has consistently delivered revenue and profits and has launched and managed all the top 10 brands of Dr. Reddy's portfolio. He has successfully managed to place the gastro and oral care portfolios of Dr. Reddy's in leadership position and also the Curatio. So welcome, Sankar sir.
I must add something, Swati, here about Sankar Das.
Yes, sir.
I think next to me, in dermatology, where I ran the company very ethically with no transactional model, Sankar Das, carried on the legacy, that I had created by ensuring, that he carried the same legacy with more fervor, right, with Curatio, and against all the odds of the transactional models that are existing in the country today. He ran the company very successfully, keeping up the ethical values, in terms of the pharma. And he was one of the best brand creators or brand builders, I would say, in terms of, the dermatology brands. And anybody, if they talk about, Teddy Bar, I think, they should realize what he has really done. After all, somebody would say it was a soap. It was not a soap. It was a treatment modality. That's what he created. I must tell you that. And I think I was extremely proud to be associated with them for more than 8 years in the journey.
Thank you very much, sir. And he was our constant guide to my entire team. So that's where the values that we practiced, it was repeatedly getting reassured that you are walking on the right track. I think, a doyen like Mr. Hariram being there and talking to my team actually helped all of us to stay committed to the path.
Wow, so two industry veterans from Dhamma here, and thank you, both of you. Means we can see the chemistry, sir. So let us go through the videos. We will quickly run through Dhamma videos. One is of 10 minutes, second is of 7 minutes. Let's again practice that skill of listening and listen to what patient is saying in these two videos.
So the first question which goes to Swarup, when you realized that this is a disease which cannot be cured but only be managed and possibly throughout your lifetime, what was that feeling you got?
I knew about the condition psoriasis much before that I got it, maybe way back in 98, 2000, right? So I knew that this is a condition which is not life-threatening. You have to be with the condition, you have to manage, you have to follow the doctor's advice, you have to be on moisturizers. And when it came to me in 2015-16, I felt sad that it had to happen to me, but I also felt that I am a part of the big universe of sufferers of psoriasis. So I took it on my chin and I thought that I should manage it well from now on.
And which part of your body was affected?
Initially, it affected my palms, my
Oh,
fingers
I see.
of my hand and the front side of my ankle. It's basically palmoplantar psoriasis, palm and the foot.
And Gauri, what did you feel when you had the first episode of psoriasis? How did you mentally feel?
Back in the day, when I found out, when I was diagnosed with psoriasis, I did not know about the condition. It was about 5 years back, and I did not know what that was. The doctor told me that this is something that is going to last for long, and you will have to take the medication for a really long time. Fine, it's not life-threatening or anything like that. But yeah, I was concerned that I will have to take the medication, and I'll have to be careful. Otherwise, it might even increase. So that was there in my mind. But as I started getting to know more about the condition, I was like, okay, I think I can manage it.
Which part of your body was affected?
It was the back of my neck, below the hairline. And for a long time, it was in a bad condition. But then after some time, it went away. I don't know, it went away. It was suppressed for a year or so. And then last year, again, it flared up. And I had to switch the medications and things like that.
Yeah, this disease normally occurs in cycles, but there's a flare up, then coming back to normal, and again there's a flare up. But I think you are a little luckier than Swaroop because it did not affect your visible parts of the body.
Actually, it was there in my mind that, okay, even if I have it, even if I have the flaky skin, like it does come out sometimes. So it's at a place where it's not visible. I can just keep my hair open and nobody would know.
I have a point here, but it will definitely affect her willingness to have tie her hair up and,
When the flare up is there and it is a little bit visible, I am really conscious to keep my hair up.
I myself was self-conscious. I used to keep my, hands down, not like this, avoid handshakes and all. This was in the background of mind, but no one stared at me or nobody passed any comment as such. But it was all occurring in my mind. Somebody could see it and could pass a comment.
Even if it wasn't much visible, I used to hold myself from hair, like tying my hair up. What will people think when they see it, and what if they ask me what has happened? So I just held myself back from facing that kind of questions.
The flare up was leering. What was your feeling, Swaroop?
When the flares used to come, they came with a lot of vengeance, as if they will, there's a lot of blood flowing in that area and there's a lot of itching. And I could really feel it. And I literally told my doctors that, the monster has come back and I can feel that the heat on my palms. And there are places where, there are, cracks and the blood can be seen from the outside. So this were the things with which I gone to doctors when the flares used to come. And the feeling was not good. Round the year, when the episodes is there in the peak or when there is any, a remission period also, I used to use, very heavy emollients and very occlusive creams on my hand and on my, legs, patches which are there. So that's how I tried managing it. Apart from taking the other medications which the doctors have prescribed.
What about you, Gauri, when you felt that these flares are likely to come repeated in cycles? How did you take it?
Actually, when this thing started about 5 years ago, I
Okay.
was just a student and I was preparing for competitive exams. I had to face was when it started, I had hives in my body. There was a lot of itching and there were hives. And for a really long time, even the dermatologist wasn't able to understand what is happening to me. Tested me to go through a derma test, like allergy, to test if I'm allergic to something or not, if I'm allergic to pollen, or when the seasons change, why am I getting this? So for about a year or so, I was on different medications, and I was told to stay away when it's pollen season, and check if that is what is causing me problem, or like to avoid some kinds of allergic foods and see if it goes away.
It took about a year or so for a doctor to understand that it's a case of psoriasis, right? And you had itching on those parts. So did he prescribe any steroids like drugs or something like, anti-allergics or antihistamines?
Actually, I was seeing a doctor from my hometown. He was apparently top dermatologist from my hometown, and he prescribed me
Okay.
and along with that, I was given a shot of steroids
Uh-huh.
so that I won't get the hives and urticaria that was coming. It shouldn't come. So after that, what happened is I was under the effect of the sedative effect of antihistamines, and I used to feel sleepy and drowsy all the time. I was unable to study.
But did you tell your doctor that, this medicine which was prescribed to you, it caused the drowsiness, and did he change the drug or something like that?
I did tell him, but then that is when he gave me a shot of steroids. He said that the other option is you have to be on steroids, if not antihistamines. So, but then that messed up with my body even further. What happens with most of the psoriasis patients, it takes a lot of time to be diagnosed right. And after that, maybe the right medication would start.
When people have these kind of problems, what sort of advice would you give to such patients?
I think all the patients suffer differently. So the treatment is going to be different for everyone. But yeah, the thing is, if someone starts feeling any sort of discomfort, one should go to the doctor and not start self-medication.
People should understand that it's a problem, and for which we have to go to the doctor as soon as possible. The earlier you treat, the better will be the prognosis.
I started getting the treatment. There were not a lot of options available. I mean, there were not a lot of dermatologists in my hometown. It's a small city.
How pharma companies can intervene at these kind of problems?
Now is the time of digital outreach. So digital outreach is a very important tool that pharma companies can take to reach out to sufferers and caregivers of patients having psoriasis. Yes, there are portals outside India, like for vitiligo, a condition like white patches. Psoriasis also has a portal whereby the patients come and talk about their own problems, and some stories they narrate that how they have overcome their problem and how they are doing now. So, people of psoriasis talking to each other also creates a lot of bonding, and they help manage the condition well. So that should be done by pharma companies, I guess.
I agree to what Sarita said. I think even this interaction has, made us feel better.
In
Yes.
India, we have conferences where doctors, dermatologists come and attend, and they talk about the scientific. I think it should be more patient-centric now. Patients like us should be a part of that conference where they narrate their story to the dermatologist.
Would you like to share when you found out that you are having psoriasis?
I can't tell you exactly, but it was 23 years ago.
Okay.
So that time it had started on my palm, and I didn't have a servant because we was in a rented house, and the house was pretty small. And my husband used to go from morning till evening, so I had the time to do all the housework. I could manage, so I have not kept a servant. So it started at that time. So then when it started on my palms, I thought it was soap allergy. So I tried to change my soaps
Then it did not affect your hands, like you were not feeling better even after doing that.
No, I was not feeling better. So then I thought it may be, I didn't know what was triggering exactly. Whether it was phenyl, whether it was washing bath soap or washing machine soap or क्या बोलते हैं विम बार utensil soap. I didn't know what was the exact reason for that. Then I went to an allopathic doctor. He gave some medicines and some ointment, and it stopped. It vanished. I was pretty happy. And then once the dosage stopped, then again after 1.5 months, again it started. Again I went to the same doctor. And it kept on happening, and he was a skin specialist. He could not diagnose, or he did not tell me that it's psoriasis.
Okay.
Then it started on my neck, Mangalsutra chains, antenna necklaces, back of the neck. Elbow is towards that lower part of the hand. On the upper part of the hand, the folds of the hand.
Yes, ma'am.
It started there. वहाँ शुरू हो गया.
Okay.
So then I started getting scared. So then I thought of going to homeopathic. Took their treatment for 1.5 years, but still it did not work.
Okay.
So then I stopped that. Then I started, again I went to another homeopathic hospital. I don't know why. Homeopathy was not working at all for me. So then again we changed the doctor. Every 1.5 years I used to change the doctor.
And so you still didn't know that you had psoriasis?
No, that government hospital, they told me.
Okay, they
that
did.
It is psoriasis.
Ma'am, when you found out that this is psoriasis and this is going to be there for a really long time, like this condition cannot be treated.
I didn't know it was, nobody told me it's going to be lifelong or it cannot be treated like that.
When
that
did you
time
find
we
out?
didn't have computer. I didn't know the knowledge of it, or neither the doctor shared with me.
When you actually found out that, okay, this is not going to be treated, this is something that has to be just managed, and I'm going to have it for lifelong.
That is when I went to a real professional doctor.
Okay.
Actually, frankly speaking, I had gone to a astrologer. For some other problem. I lost my jewelry and I was in depression. Chori ho gaya tha bus mein. So I was in depression that I had lost it, and also I had gone to an astrologer to show. Then he saw my palm and he said, "You are going to have this to be lifelong and it can be managed."
Okay. So now at least you have been given the information, right? The doctors did tell you.
Now it is on my knees. It started on my knees. Then palm was up with those medicines and all. It is gone. Now I'm having on my knees, on my scalp, and it was inside my ear. It was in my scalp. Now again it is what you say, I love ice cream. I love chocolates. Not that on a regular basis, but I do have. But I try to control myself because I'm not eating proper food, no. They've told us a very strict diet for me.
Did it ever happen that the doctor told you that you have to do something?
It started spreading again all over my body. It started on my thighs and my knuckles and all. Then that was the time I really felt like if people come to know I have psoriasis, because my husband is into catering business, they will not buy food from us. And COVID time, it was very difficult because hotels and all were closed. We had the maximum business at that time. So I was really worried. Then I shared this with my husband. because it was spreading. So I was really scared. And due to lot of itching and all, blood, sometimes blood, I keep scratching, so blood comes out. Sometimes, very rarely.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's dry skin, basically lot of itching.
Yes, ma'am, dry.
So, and when you start scratching and it starts burning, so blood comes out like that. So then here there is a government Ayurvedic hospital. Again, they are very good. They treated me, it came down. Now again, I don't know, for some reason, whether it's dry because of dry cold. Now it's very cold nowadays. So because of that or because of my stress or something, I don't know.
But ma'am, that is what the thing is. No, you must get the treatment, right? So have you ever thought of going back to an allopathic doctor?
No, never. Because I was admitted for 15 to 20 days in this Ayurvedic hospital, and it really has come down. I was and I am happy with their treatment.
Okay.
But only, I don't know why it has started again. As they say, stress-free life.
So you have seen the videos earlier also. We may have cut out some portions, but we had to do it because of paucity of time. Then would you like to ask the first question?
Yes, Swati, definitely. So I will start by asking my question to Mr. Sankar Das. The patients here, I think it's been very clear, sometimes very heartbreaking also to see that there was a delay in diagnosis of the problem. So do you see a role of pharma companies in this particular aspect?
Okay, so actually the delay is something which is highly individualized, number one. So if the pharmaceutical company work on a larger canvas of what does a healthy skin mean, then some people can maybe anticipate and see for certain early sign or symptom. Otherwise, it is unfortunate that only when, and this is, psoriasis or any skin problem is something which more than the victim who feel is affected, the feeling of what others will think and how the others are treating the affected person, that is what is making a lot of issues. So for the victim, actually it is, like seasonally, it is getting flared up, which once they apply adequate moisturizers and take the proper treatment, it subsides, and maybe in 5 to 6 years time, they know what is the routine with which they have to manage themselves. So here the early diagnosis is something which a pharma company can only educate up to the level of what is a good skin, okay, and what are the signs one need to notice for. In that way, one can actually take the patient or take somebody towards identifying the issue. We have done some work not on psoriasis, but on a pre-diabetic condition called acanthosis nigricans, where there is no symptom, but only discoloration in the knuckles or in the neck. Okay, and nobody is bothered because it is not very highly visible area also. It doesn't cause itching. So people are not generally worried. They become worried only when they start seeing, like this patient said, that sometimes there is some amount of strong itching, and when you itch, some amount of bleeding. So when these things happen, and visibly when they see that the skin is becoming very rough to handle, she thought that it is because of soap or she repeatedly washing the utensils. So these are all the misconceptions they may have. But the problem can be seen only when they start seeing either a discoloration or a itch or the skin becoming very scaly and rough. Till such time, no, people always live under that, I look good, I feel good, that type of a scenario. So a pharma company can play a role in talking about how skin can communicate or what a good skin is like. That if they do, which I think if you visit a dermatologist clinic, unfortunately, the number of dermatologists for our population is relatively very, very less. But if you visit a dermatologist clinic, the pharma companies' efforts in educating the people who are sitting there about what is a good skin, one can always see. That would be my response.
Great.
Thank you, Sankar sir. So the thing I take here is the education could be around what is a good skin, right, Sankar sir?
Yeah.
The pathologies have to be then touched upon by doctors and expertise. But
Correct.
yeah, what is a good skin is the right way to go forward to create a campaign. Thank you, Sankar sir. Hariram sir, the next question to you. In the interviews, you may have seen these students were students of pharmacy, and they were aware that the disease is not a life-threatening condition, but they will have to live with it. But you may have seen many cases during your career also, when you were interacting with doctor and they telling you that the patients who do not know about this disease may respond very differently from a person who knows about it. So what is your experience around this? How people take it, that it's a lifelong disease, and this condition is also visible to herself or himself and to the caregivers?
Okay. First of all, let me thank you, Pharma State Academy, and particularly Swati and, Vivek sir. Every time I think, it's 10.5 years, since I have superannuated. Every time I think, I'm getting obsolete. I think you guys pull me, back by collar and say that, no, you are relevant, Hariram, you be here. We want you, sort of a thing. So I thank you, for that, for making me alive and kicking. And probably, when I was sitting on this today morning, I was making some notes to myself after seeing the videos and things like that. I mean, everything, I was doing, for the 12 years, came to the forefront of my mind. And subsequently, I'm quite fortunate that even today, the dermatologists, talk to me, either they phone me up or say that I want to meet you, I want to talk to you, etc. And therefore, the relevance, continues. And probably it's an updated relevance, I would say, that I am into. And, out of this video that I have seen, one patient, Swarup, Paulson's is the company, where the CEO is being mentored by me. And therefore, all these fellows are well known to me, and I know, therefore, what agony this Swarup goes through. I am aware of it. Personally, I've had the opportunity to sit with them on quite a few occasions, to sort of counsel it. So the first point, I would like to tell, what happens is we need to first understand that the largest organ of the body is the skin, 80%. As Sankar Das rightly mentioned, if that is the largest organ of the body, right, why is it, that it is being taken for granted everywhere? And when we talk about non-communicable diseases, say in any forum, I have been there, when we talk about NCDs, we talk about diabetes, we talk about hypertension, we talk about other areas. Psoriasis is a very clear non-communicable disease.
Correct.
And therefore, there is no highlight about it. Forget about patients in general. I would still say that, it's pharma itself, does not understand, except thinking that, pushing, moisturizers and some steroids, unfortunately. So why do we have to go to the patients? It's these people, the pharma, should be looking at, because practically, I will tell you, abroad, there is a, there are a lot of awareness programs that are there with regard to psoriasis, right? Somebody might say that in that population, it is higher, right? Now, when they talk about, in US, they talk about 2 to 3%. And in India, we talk about 0.44% to 2.5%. We don't realize that 3% of that population and this 2 to 2.5% of our population, the quantum of people that we have with psoriasis is much higher. And we are not still counting, the number of people who are undiagnosed, who are unaware of what is this that is happening, because they are pushed into the corner by saying, no, it is a curse you have, right? आपने पूरा जन्म में पाप किया और ये पाप किया वो पाप किया, and therefore then they go to black magic, then they go to, all other things, that we are talking about. So what I'm saying is, we need to understand, that the awareness per se, as Sankar Das said, what is healthy skin, for the people understand, has got to come. Then, comes the other thing, that when somebody has psoriasis, right? Or, when there is a patient going to for psoriasis, in today's context, I would tell you the dermatologists of today are well equipped, to diagnose it at a much early stage. I can tell you that. I would not accept, if somebody says that, they have not diagnosed it. It is, dermatologists are visual guys in general, right? Therefore, for them, the differential diagnosis is the lifeblood, of their practice. We need to understand that. So if somebody has gone to a quack, or if somebody has gone to a GP, who calls himself, as a skin disease, doctor or something like that, because he just has a diploma and he could not diagnose, it's a different matter. But MD, today's dermatologists, they are extremely well versed. I would support them. They're able to diagnose. Now, there is only one problem that I say that happens here, and I think it is common for any other disease, because even when I was, listening to the PCOD conditions, I am applying the same situation here also, that, sometimes, if the patient is the level of understanding and education, the doctor may be afraid, to say the word psoriasis to the person. Because let us accept the fact, that how they take it. It's like somebody telling, cancer, therefore, this, how they take it. That could be the reason where they say that, no, don't worry, it's a skin disease. Or it's a skin condition, that would be there. So it's not otherwise, but I would say, the doctors know about it. Right. So it is possible, and we are, the patients will have to be made to understand. And probably, I'm just jumping, one step further, that there are a lot of ways by which, it can be managed today, reasonably well, I would say, because we are still a country, in my opinion, to a large part of the time, it is, we are into a tropic climate. Therefore, the kind of exacerbation that you get, in the Western countries, and the kind of exacerbation, that you get in our countries, we can increase the remission period, for a long period of time. It's possible, in my opinion, very, very clearly, with the medical knowledge I have about, and the treatment modalities that are available today. But what is happening is, we are only talking about medication, right? We are forgetting about one important fact, as the girl mentioned, right? The fact, that, psoriasis, I would say, basically, we need to understand that it's an inside-out disease. Whereas contact dermatitis is an outside-in disease. So we need to understand this, very, very clearly. And, they have to educate, the patients, because it is not only just physical, it's also psychological. It has also got a social, and it has also got an economic impact. That's what I would say.
Thank you. And thank you, Hariram, sir. I can connect with all the three things. Yeah, Sankar, sir.
Yeah, so I would like to add to the next, whatever Mr. Hariram had said, even to the subject where we have not seen any video, is on atopic dermatitis. So it is in the same space I am talking about. In the case of atopic dermatitis, the terminology patient centricity actually should talk about parent centricity, because atopic dermatitis is more to do with the kids, babies, children, where the first signs and symptoms can be seen even before the baby reaches 3 years of age. So there, the concerned party where the pharma or the role can be towards the parents. And there are adequate number of data that are available, which says that if one of the parent is eczema patient or atopic dermatitis patient in her or in his childhood, the 25% chances are there that the child would become atopic. And if both parents were atopic in their childhood, then 50% chances are there that this child would become atopic. Now, we are living in a era, at least in cities and major towns, we have gynecologists who are actually counseling the pregnant woman right from the 7th month and 8th month. And it is possible for somebody to track the history of these carrying women. So if there is a lead indicator that is available, okay, so these are all the times where they can be taught that, how the child need to be, you need not suspect a AD in every child, but I'm saying that what type of extra precaution, and that's where a company like Curatio and all became very successful, is what type of extra precaution you need to take, because the usual cultural habit is to give oil massage. So can you convert this oil massage to a newborn baby to a virgin coconut oil massage? The conventional wisdom says that, you use a popularly available baby soap. Then can you educate these mothers who are in the last stage of pregnancy that what is, you don't use any soap for the baby, but use something called cleansers, which are not alkaline in nature. So those type of activities in atopic dermatitis, even before the diagnosis of whether the child is atopic in nature or not, it can be worked upon by a pharma company. And for this to do, it is not only the healthcare provider, the gynecologist or the physician who has to be tapped, that the nursing staff in any obstetric home can be easily trained, because it is not it requiring 6 months or 1 year of coaching, but just 1 hour, 2 hour session will certainly help, in which in my past experience, we have seen significant success of how do you actually predict. In fact, we have gone even one step further. Suppose the baby is going to become atopic child. Then we have also talked about atopic triad. Means the child, atopic dermatitis is a self-limiting disease. By the time the child crosses 12 years or 15 years of age, that atopic dermatitis will disappear. If it is not disappearing, the child will grow into become a eczema patient, or the child can become a rhinitis patient or an asthma patient. This is called triad. So on these areas of atopic triad, a pharma company can actually prepare the parents, okay, much in advance before actually the problem comes. That's the point I wanted to add.
Wonderful, Sankar sir. So there are many small bits of information that could be simply created as a wonderful campaign, an opportunity area for a pharma marketeer who has an eye to create it. Thank you so much, Sankar sir and Hariram sir. Zena, over to you for the next question. Yeah,
I'll take the next question. Hariram sir, we've seen that many patients run from doctor to doctor to get their conditions treated, or in this case, managed. Some may even switch to alternate medicines, like one of the videos showed us that, one of the patients shifted to an alternative medicine option. So can you tell what could be the role of a pharma company in such a patient's life? How could they stop this from happening? And of course, with the consent of the doctor, what could they do for this patient?
Yeah, I think, it's a very good point. I still remember in 2003 to 2004, when there was hardly any talk about a digital technology, or when we were talking about, the enablers, that we are talking about today. I attended a program, on telehealth medicine at that point of time, where it was initiated by an Indian doctor, but all the participants were from Southeast Asian countries. I don't know why no other Indian doctor was available other than the initiator, because this man, totally believed in it. And, one of the areas where I still remember, I was sitting in Mahabalipuram, attending this conference, and one of the topics that was talked about, to help in terms of patient advocacy, that we are talking about a patient, the disease management, for the patient was psoriasis. Because it showed, therefore, the kind of concern, that is there, with those people. And I didn't find the same, in the Indian side. Now, probably also the reason I'm saying is because we felt health medicine, forget about it. Who wants to use an instrument, for something? So what I'm coming back to the point, I would like to tell is, pharma, has to be in the forefront in all these areas. I will just give you one example that is happening in the other parts of the world. The company called Amgen, along with various other multinational companies like Novartis and Johnson and Johnson and other Galderma, etc. Where they're working on. See, I find that they are very clear about educating the newly diagnosed. See, so that comes then as an emphasis for us to understand the newly diagnosed as well as those living with psoriasis, right? And what to expect, from this disease, right? And that's the point. And they provide tools, they can bring to the doctor's office to ensure they get the questions answered, right? And education modules also that walk the patient, step by step, in terms of the approach, which is missing in our context. It's a great opportunity, according to me, to pharma today with all the technological enablers that are available to really take the lead in terms of ensuring, that this is done. Then, the patient, the reduction of patients running from pillar to post will reduce, right? Because one, they have to understand, because we have in our country, this attitude that, आज सुबह, कुछ मेरे को बुखार हो गया तो आज दोपहर तक वो उतरना पड़ेगा, right? If I have, today, if my reading of HbA1c is 8, tomorrow morning it should go to 6 without my doing anything. I mean, how does it work? There is something called as a treatment. There is something called as a management, right? And therefore, we should know what we have got to do. So the moment, we do that, we blame the doctor. So they run from, so that's what, the doctors say. The same patient, I've seen dermatologists, when the other doctor calls up and say, "Ye patient tumhare paas pehle aaya tha kya psoriasis ke liye?" Yeah. Nahi, wo abhi mere paas baki aaya. I've practically seen this. This is because their unawareness, the lack of education that they have about what is it that they can expect out of a disease like this. I think there is a huge amount of scope for pharma to really, collaborate, or align, with the dermatologists and do a lot of work, in this particular area. Right. That's what, I would say, that is very, very important.
Very, very aptly put by Mr. Hariram. I would like to add a small piece. I feel that the current era and the youngsters can do this because this is the time where what Mr. Hariram had talked about can actually be easily executed, because all the digital tools are available and it is easy for anybody to reach. Morning, Mr. Sanjay Mitra talked about, Dr. Reddy is doing a campaign for Finast at the time. I was the marketing manager at the time. 95, 96, all national dailies. Believe me, it is very, very difficult. We had to wait. We received close to about 18,000 or 20,000 postcards and inland letters in 95, 96. But today's scenario, everything is available at the next minute or next hour. So means that if innovation happens in this area, it is easy for the current brand manager or group product manager or the company to look at, how to take, what Mr. Hariram had just said, what to expect if I am diagnosed as a psoriasis patient. Now preparing that and giving that type of information is possible very much in today's scenario.
Correct, sir. Absolutely. Bang on, because like you said, it is the digital era, it's the need of the hour, and today we have some tools to facilitate what maybe would not have been very easy to do in 95, 96. Today, so it can happen at the click of a button.
And it will help. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One of the tool which we successfully, I have experienced in the recent 10 years, 8 years time is, just having a patient helpline. Please remember, helpline is different from patient complaint line. So I'm not talking about patient complaints. patient helpline. And every day there will be 7 to 10 calls. Okay, and what is that? The calls will be, okay, maybe about 15%. The significantly higher number would be wanting to know about availability of the product, where can I reach? But other than that, it will be that, whether I need to put a moisturizer first or steroid first and then moisturizer. We should understand that, the physician doesn't have that much of time in our country to educate a patient for all these areas. But a simple helpline like this had actually enabled. And this task we didn't give it to a BPO who is somebody who will be impersonal and not having adequate knowledge. So what type of professional who is handling these customer calls also is very important. So we employed somebody who had been in the industry for 35, 40 years in different sales roles, and who could not move around a lot because of his certain domestic condition. That guy was very empathetic and happy to talk to. So he will ask right from, okay, who is the doctor and what did he say? What are all the things he has prescribed? What is written on the top of the prescription? Everything he will collect, and the patient used to feel so happy. So in today's scenario, it is possible for somebody to reach out and enable a patient to become much more aware, conscious of how they can run their life very comfortably if they are diagnosed with psoriasis or eczema or any of these conditions.
Wow. So Sankar sir, I would say that employee, that person was way ahead of time and had implemented patient centricity for the company.
Yeah, true. That was the design behind that type of an idea, and it is a unique differentiator for us. It helps.
Yeah, I'll add this. We are missing out on one segment, unfortunately, pharma never looks at them, for these type of purposes. See, those guys, who have remained as, representatives throughout their life, they've retired, let us take, for whatever may be the reason, they're not. And, post-retirement, right, if I could become, a coach and a mentor because of the position that I had, 100% sure these fellows, who have retired as representatives or a frontline manager, they would be too eager to fill in this role with the greater amount of passion and empathy, as Sankar Das mentioned, with some amount of, training, that they are given to them. We are missing out on the potential that we have within the industry.
And they will have significant satisfaction that they are useful to the society. So
agree, sir. Agree, Hariram sir and Sankar sir, you have actually opened up a very important discussion that should happen in this space, that people are feeling threatened that digital has come, my job will go, and what will happen to all the sales roles and all those things. But I think that the way this industry will shape, if they adopt patient centricity, jobs are going nowhere, rather more jobs are coming to you if you're actually into this domain.
I have one more point to add. Morning, also there was a question that how do you bring in the change with the marketing team or other thing. I was tempted to talk at that time, but then I thought I should reserve it for this discussion. I am suggesting that as long as you have an organization right from CEO to finance department, okay, let me finance function. As long as we are going to look at P&L from a brand window, there will be a product centricity. Okay, every brand has to become a individual P&L. Like that, we have tuned in the last 20 years, all of us. Okay, so this cannot be done without that CEO or promoter and the finance department finding a methodology. Ultimately, it is a nomenclature and how do you segment your accounting practices. Imagine that, what made, like Sanjay Mitra pointed out, I still remember at that time in 95, 96, to publish a finance patient educating material, it took about 40, 45 lakhs across national dairies. First year, Finast did not even sell for 45 lakhs. Okay, but what is Dr. Reddy's Laboratories today in urological segment? Now that, okay, unfortunately, a poor brand manager cannot think and do, but certainly a CEO can act on that, what he wants or she wants, And certainly CEO along with the finance team can collaborate and see that, how certain focused activities on patient centricity can be elevated from brand centric accounting practices towards the patient centric expenses or, patient awareness creating work if we bring in this change. So this is something which is separate discussion one can do, in which a finance team, even HR team need to participate, because the HR team looks at it a brand success towards what is the objective set and what is the achievement. But what happens in case we are, suppose if a company, educates and brings in a significant awareness among the pediatricians about atopic dermatitis, which was hitherto only treated only by 9,000, 10,000 dermatologists. That's a great work, which is going to pave way for significant business, maybe in 10 years' time or 15 years' time. But our methodology of looking every brand as a separate P&L, current practice, I'm not saying it is good or bad. This is something which we can debate about it and then look at what are the way where then the brand manager will start looking at the patient, not at the product sales and the product profit. That's my additional point which I wanted to contribute.
Yeah, Dr. Sati, may I?
Yeah, Sanjay sir. Please.
Yeah, Sanjay, yeah.
Quickly,
Yeah,
sir.
I was listening very carefully, very intensely, and really liked it. Thank you, Mr. Hariram, for sharing your experience. It's wonderful and good to
Sure.
see.
I can't forget your father's education to me, those days.
I know.
Let's understand, I am his legacy.
I know. And I have all the respect for you. That's the reason. Since morning, I was on and off, but I was listening, keeping my earphone on. When we, as a patient, grow up and get elderly, then it's very difficult for us to change. In life cycle change that happens when we become a little elderly, we feel we know everything. So I don't know. Now that there are so many facilities, pharma industry might think of one option, which few companies have done on occasions. Maybe we go to the schools and at say plus 12 level or plus 10 level, when they are still, not so matured or not so grown up. If we give them some idea, some thoughts, say we take a doctor and a skincare doctor in case of dermatology and talks about what are the basic ABC to protect your skin. Say you take a diabetologist and talk about how do you, plan to protect yourself from getting diabetic, as the doctor was saying this morning, that there are a huge potential patients who are already going to have diabetes. They are not yet diagnosed. So under the carpet, they are still under the carpet. So such kind of preventive talks. So what we are talking about is the prevention. So such kind of preventive talks, if the pharma industry takes the initiative, I think that could be another way of changing the next generation mindset to be more careful about their healthcare.
True.
Yeah, I think Sanjay, you made a very valid point. I'll just put across, one thing, which I did when I was there. I know it's not being done now, but I said during my, period. For us at that point of time, acne was the bread and butter. Right? I'm slightly digressing. The fact, you see, what we did was very concertedly, right? More than, 10,000 colleges across the country, right? The dermatologist who is nearby and accessible, we managed to take the principal's, permission, and during, the parent-teachers meeting, right? Parent-students meeting or whatever, parent-teacher-students meeting, whatever we call it, the dermatologist talked to them about the role of, puberty in, the, acne, situation, and the other aspects, that go into, and therefore, there is, because acne equally is a psychologically debilitating, disease.
Yeah.
And today's world, the social media and then what you call, it was slightly less at that point of time. The selfie approach business was not there, but nevertheless it was there. I'm saying, there is the same case, with atopic dermatitis, as Sankar Das mentioned, the same case, with psoriasis that we're talking about. Now, in atopic dermatitis, as Sankar Das rightly mentioned, the caregivers, the mothers, they have hundreds of concerns. And there is hardly anybody really helping them to understand, the whole thing, because they are the ones, who are facing the agony of the child going through a miserable situation, and they don't sleep. For many nights, they do not sleep at all. Right. And therefore, this, how do we handle this? What do we do? Like this in every disease, psoriasis, if you look at, suppose the person, as one of the ladies mentioned, if she is a married partner, or let's take, we talked about Swarup. Now, the spouse, for that matter, what psychological situation they go through, if these are younger people in the married life, what about the physical relationship, right? They worry about, is it communicable? Will I also get this disease, right? Then, the ugliness, that is there. There are hundreds of, concerns that are there. All this could be very systematically addressed, and, we can manage it much, much better. That's what, pharma could really play a great role, according to me. And as we rightly said, today, you have telemedicine, which has become a little more popular, post-COVID times. We're talking about e-health, approaches that are there. We are talking about e-health digital technology. And, you have today, everything that is available to support all this: mobile application, teledermatology, artificial intelligence, hundreds of things are. But there is still, in my opinion, we are still behind, in terms of what we are trying to do. I'll just add, one example to, as I said about Amgen, I was just, trying to understand Leo Pharma, for example, right? Denmark, Sweden company set out to capture the challenges of living with atopic dermatitis, both in terms of emotional and psychological. We are still not doing anything. We have 10% of the population today, with atopic dermatitis. Let's understand that. We are not doing anything. 10% is a huge number, according to me, right? Now, while, atopic dermatitis still is looked at as an urban and semi-urban, disease, psoriasis has no boundaries. It can come for anybody. Somebody is stressed out, their activation, might take place. What we call as, we have these T cells. These T cells are normally supposed to be protective for us. The same T cells become, enemies when, your stress factor and other conditions take over, and the defense mechanism for the skin is produce more cells. So if it normally takes 28 days for you to go through the cycle of, the production of the cells, here it could be 2 days, 1 day, 5 days, depending upon the severity of the situation.
Actually, just to add to your point and get to know that you have already experimented this. See, the problem I see is the impatience that, pharma industry, pharma marketer suffers from. We launch a brand and we want that brand to be a brand within 7 months or 3 months time.
Yeah.
How can that happen? I mean, a brand can only become a brand after 3 years.
Correct.
If we do not plan, and the brand managers are also under tremendous pressure to deliver, so therefore they look for all the shortcuts, and that starts from lower price. First, the answer that a brand manager looks for: how can I make it cheap?
Shall I add one thing?
Hariram sir, Sankar sir, and Sanjay sir, just one request to you. We will have in the next.
No, just let me put one point.
Just last comments from you, all of you. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, all these associations, AVAX and many other forums, this new brand launch, success awards, should be abolished.
Wonderful, sir. I second your thought. I am fed up of seeing those. So,
what the hell, yeah? You are trying to celebrate a 1-year-old child, as a prodigy. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Chalo, let's get on, Swati. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, you touched upon a chord that I have been crying upon for the last 1 or 2 years. That let's talk more about the vision of the company, and the way you want to position this company in the minds of everyone. Internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, your doctors, whosoever. The positioning.
Actually, Swati, you should plan a conference like this for brand building and new brand launch. It will be a very pertinent point for Indian pharma industry.
Thank you for giving the idea, sir. I'll try to do that. The team will do that.
We should have a program on how to stop award givings.
I will give one closing comment, Swati.
Yes, sir.
That no, patient centricity is not restricted, or it is not the headache of PMT alone. I think patient centricity has to come from the top.
Yes.
Corporate culture.
Only then, and top in association with HR and finance team, only then we will see that the young brand managers are becoming, and they can do a lot of innovation with the latest tools that are available. But the approach will become strengthened only when it starts from the top.
Absolutely, bang on.
Well said, well said, sir.
Thank you, Sankar sir. Thank you, Hariram sir. Sanjay sir, for
You want me to give a want me to give a last word?
sir, you have touched upon a chord which you want to
Right.
speak a lot
Go
on.
ahead, sir.
So what I'm saying is, anything that we are talking about, whether it is a digital transformation or whether we are talking about a patient centricity, it has got to be included. It is to be inclusive as a part of the business and marketing model.
Correct.
It cannot be kept separately as a cut and paste approach. And right as Shankar Das mentioned, from top, it has got to flow down the level, and you got to breathe this day in and day out in every single activity that you do, including your representative when he meets the doctors. He should stop asking, doctor, please give me a share of your prescriptions.
Very women.
True. I agree with you.
Thank you
I
so
agree
much.
with you.
Yeah, Mr. Amrinder, you want to speak?
Yeah, just to add, saying that it should come from top, I think it should come way beyond top from shareholders also. Now tell me, how will somebody sitting on the top who has to manage the shareholders' expectation has to satisfy it? So this is a vicious circle. It's the same community which invests in pharma. They want 20% return, and then the cycle continues. So Hariram sir,
I will answer that to you.
Yeah.
Right? You would have seen, one photo of mine, which I have circulated today. I spent about 5 minutes with Piyush Goyal last night in one of the forums. Now, he was talking to me on the sidelines saying, what do I do? And I told him, what I do now, and what I was and what I do now. He said, Hariram, I think you should mentor all this board of directors. That's the statement that he made. So you hit upon, the nail on the head, because it is they, who should be able to hold, the CEO responsible to ensure. But what happens is, unfortunately, with this, I'm using the word, not fortunately, unfortunately, when we have, I'm not saying all, some private equity holders, when you unknowingly, you get them, into the picture, Sankar Das will endorse me on that. They do not understand any of this. Thank God, Shankar Das, had an iron skin. He didn't have.
I took a stand that I will not budge. So shareholders can be handled. That's my opinion.
And he had my support in every situation, not to budge an inch.
Yeah.
This story has to be shared someday, sir. So Sankar sir and Hariram sir, we will invite you to share this story, but in a different format, maybe.
Yeah.
So let's move towards the next panel. Thank you, Hariram sir. Thank you, Sankar sir. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for being here and enlightening the audience with the right insights that should be generated from patient videos, patients sitting with them or talking with them. Really amazed. People are sitting and listening to this for the last, I think it's now 6 hours, around 6 hours. So thank you so much for being there and learning throughout this journey.